time to plant our fall garden, and we're not just talking about cool season crops. You might remember that earlier we planted the inside of our potager garden with some cool season vegetable crops, but that doesn't mean that the garden still can't be pretty. So we're going to add some color. Now, traditionally, I sort of am biased to perennials, but if there's one annual that deserves some attention in the garden, that is pansies. Because there's not a lot of options for fall and winter color. And these annuals will get established in the fall and they will continue to perform for you all the way until it's time to plant the garden again next spring. So we have some pansies here, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about color and design with pansies. So in a previous life of mine, I used to do commercial landscaping, and we designed homeowners associations, resorts, and some large shopping centers with different winter annual color down in Dallas. And so one of the things is we often were designing for traffic that was going very quickly past. So we designed it for 45-mile-an-hour traffic. They weren't up close, they were usually in their cars, but we wanted to have that impact of color at the corners and stuff. So when we did that, we were always thinking about bright, bold colors. So if you're looking to put winter color somewhere where it's a high traffic area, think about that. So we tended to use bright colors like yellows, or some of your lighter colors like oranges and whites. There's a citrus mix that I love, and it was a combination between yellow, white, and orange, so it's just a really vibrant color. Now, the other thing that we often thought about, a lot of times people think of pansies, and it's that classic face that you get on pansies that everybody loves. But if we're designing for an audience that's going really fast and not really up close to it, then that face is actually more of a detraction, and it gives you less impact, less color. So if you're, again, designing for something where it's going to be seen from afar and seen quickly, think about that, and you might go with what they call clear pansies that don't have the face to it. So here we've got clear yellow and clear blue, or azure blue pansies. The other thing to think about with pansies is the color white. Well, white is a really good highlighter, especially for some of these other colors. To mix that white in, it just kind of highlights the darker colors. Again, those darker colors, if you plant them in mass, a lot of times in the wintertime, they sort of just kind of blend in with our soil. So by having that white in there, again, it creates that contrast. Now personally, and this is just a personal note, I'm not a big fan of just doing large beds of the clear white pansies, because we get a lot of precipitation in the wintertime. And when we have precipitation on these pansies, you can see how delicate they are. It sort of looks like your landscape might have got toilet papered. So I personally am not a fan of just doing the clear white pansies in a large landscape bed. But they are very appropriate and very suitable, especially if you're doing something up closer to your house. That's where you can utilize a lot of these colors for that slower traffic. When you're walking up to the front of your house in containers where you can really appreciate the face of it, or even some of the unique textures of it. Here we've got some that have a little bit of a bicolor effect to them. So here you can see we have the frizzle sizzle orange, and it's a really great detail with the ruffles around the petals. But again, if you were doing this out at the entrance of your home or something where somebody's going to see it quickly and pass by from a distance, they're not going to notice that. So think about some of these details and where you might utilize them in your garden more appropriately. Now we have another one here. This is a very, very dark purple. You can see it is purple because of the back of it here has purple to it, but it almost looks black. So if we were just to plant this black pansy in our landscape without any addition of any highlight colors to it, again, as we go into winter and we don't have some of the other colors around it, it's just going to kind of blend into the dirt and really not give you that impact that you might be seeking in those winter months. So think about that when you're choosing your colors. One of my favorite classic combinations is blue and orange, or blue and yellow, and so we've got that here. So we're going to plant a mix of yellow and blue on the outside of our potager garden around the boxwoods, just to kind of help add some color. You typically want to plant these on about a 6 to 8 inch spacing, but we're going to more or less kind of work them in between our boxwoods. So we're going to alternate our yellow and blue on the outside. And you can see we've got the area kind of prepped. We've pulled the mulch back. Pansies And violas, they really don't require much care. They just prefer full sun. And of course, in the wintertime, we lose a lot of our leaves. So you might have even more space that's not traditionally full sun, actually exposed to more sunlight. And so you can see these have some good roots. We just want to plant them like we traditionally plant plants, where the soil meets the top of our garden soil that we're planting it in. They don't need a lot of heavy fertilizer. You can fertilize them if you want, or kind of top dress them with a kind of a all-purpose slow release fertilizer if you would like. But we're just going to mix these in here and go back and forth with our colors. Now you might have wondered why we picked pansies instead of violas, or what the difference is between the two. So the thing about pansies is typically they have a much larger flower to them. You can see as we compare here, we've got a couple of violas, and violas come in a range of colors too. Pansies do tend to come in more variety of colors. So if you're really looking at customizing your garden, you might go with pansies. But again, pansies have a much bolder flower. However, don't discredit the viola, because violas actually tend to produce more flowers per plant. So you get really this layered effect with the different number of flowers that they have on them. I will say also that violas tend to be a little bit more cold hardy. So if you're further north and you really are concerned about that cold hardiness, you might take that into mind. But really here in Oklahoma, both do well in our winter months. The other thing about violas is they tend to trail a little bit more. So I really like them for their daintiness and their sweetness that they add into the garden, especially in containers where they're going to kind of trail over those. So putting them in, especially if you're doing a fall or a spring, early spring container where they can trail over, those make a nice addition. Now, if you're wanting to have the best of both worlds, there actually are hybrids now called panolas that are a cross between pansy and viola. They're not as common to find on the market, but you can find them. And basically, they have the best of both worlds. They also have numerous flowers. They are slightly larger than your traditional viola, still slightly smaller than your pansy. However, they also do have that cold hardiness that the violas bring to the table. Regardless, you really kind of treat them all the same. Full sun, you know, and also moderate fertilizer. And really, if you want to keep them flowering all season long, make sure to deadhead them. You might find that they do kind of slow down in those deep, cold winter months, but you will find that even when there's snow on the ground, that you might have a few pansies still blooming in your garden.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.